basically, and chances are they've outgrown many of the laws we're still discovering as we evolve, right? So, so we're aliens, a state of mind.
Yeah, I guess that's the way.
That's a state of mind, man.
There you go.
Right? Aliens, appearances, that's all state of mind. Right? Fear is a state of mind, a state of the unconscious mind, right? The reactive mind, that's all the same thing. See, we're afraid of animals. If you're in the jungle, somebody drops you, parachutes you into the jungle, and you don't have anything, right? Anything to protect yourself with. You have reason to be a little bit spooked, right? The first creature you see could be considered an alien, right? Especially if you get a sense like it's lunch. Someone's coming down. Yes. Okay. Thank you, man. Love always you.
There was a lot of wisdom in it that I didn't. I was like,
Wait, say that again.
there was a lot of wisdom in the music that I couldn't quite, I don't know, process or understand. I'm like, it's like it was there. I just don't. I don't know how to.
And
read
so,
it.
did it help you to feel good?
Yeah, yeah, it was.
I think that's the wisdom of it. Resolution. What we're talking about is resolution. So there must be resolution, but not necessarily in musical terms. To end on a major chord, that is a certain kind of mechanical resolution. It is not a problem, but the resolution has to be psychic resolution. So when the psychic resolution occurs, and regardless what the quality of the chord is, it's finished, it's done, and there's a sense of completion in the process. Right? We can call it the final note, the final chord, or whatever, the final beat, but that's what it is. The being has to be resolved. So, for there to be peace, the individual has to have peace. And so I'm saying then that the composition should be literal. You have to compose yourself. Self-composed. Yeah. Well, so I'm not saying that's a command at this point or a requirement, but you know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So, in other words, if we play from that place, then we're offering people a service, because we're talking now about vibrational law. You're living vibrations, you're resonating vibrations, you're a radiator. So you have to talk about your own particular form of radiation, whether that's of positive flux, right, psychic flux, or negative flux. And then it could be something that's more neutral to that, right, like neutral flux. Right. In other words, like no quality almost. Right. Right. Zero flux, let's call it. We can call it that tonight for the scientifically adapted. Right, zero flux. Right. When we go into unconsciousness, we can also call that zero flux. We don't have people calling it that, but it's sleep is maybe zero flux. Not talking about dreams. That's like being awake, but out of the body. Being in the astral body, subtle body. The dream body, specific, very specific. Right? It's an intermediary body between what is low and what is high in terms of levels of consciousness. Higher, that is heavenly energy, and or demonic energy, lower, frightening energy. Dark energy, fear-based energy. And we're talking about the most primitive and unknown thing that we fear by instinct, not necessarily by truth, but we fear it by way of instinct. Because we don't know what we're afraid of sometimes. We're just fearful because we don't know. So then we're talking about the fear of not knowing, and that's a big fear. Because then the whole process of liberation is hinged on whether or not you fear what you don't know, or you really enjoy what you do know, to the degree where you become fearless. It may be dumb, depending on what you know, right? Right. Like you enjoy speeding cars, right? But you have to be careful with that, right? Right. So what is your question then? Yeah, about the, any other questions about the music? Because we're talking about a mystery that still functions in the world of healing, and you know, people just run into it. I met some people tonight I hadn't met before, and your relatives, you know, people like you. And the important thing is that what we're sharing then is the same thing. It's really human then. The element of the psychic resonance that we're talking about is really human, and it's a profoundly common bond between beings. I think that natives from all over the world, in the vibrations of what we're being created there, which were harmonious, right? Love, energy, positive love, energy, affection, and openness to communion in a manner of speaking, psychically speaking. And that means indulging the feeling of the presence of oneness, the humanity, that we have a common bond, and that we're already okay without our weapons and without everything else. We've gone back to a state of enlightenment. See, the original okayness. And so that's something we have to assume, because remember, enlightenment is like a far-fetched idea that people have, but it's also a reality. But for a lot of people, it's a far-fetched idea. See, and it doesn't have to do with just sitting in silence. That's a phase of it. See, that's part of the path to enlightenment, cessation. See, the cessation. That's going back to what we were talking earlier about as unconscious, right? The zero. See, without zero, you have no other numbers, so to speak. And without silence, we have no real space for music, right? So when the music is coming from a space of silence, and we have a power of healing that's very unique. Yeah. So I think it's important for meditators and yogis, I'm somewhat akin to that, to play music, to bring that out, play from that place if possible. And so what that requires then is taming of the ego. And we're talking about the negative ego, not the positive, you know, delicious, beautiful ego. We're talking about the negative, right? The divided ego, for the most part. The schizoid sort of self. You are really hating because you hate yourself. Right? Not you, but it's people. Right? Self-hate projected into, let's say, humanity in the world, and you know, everybody has to clean it up. Right? It doesn't really belong to us, but we have to clean it up. So that's why enlightenment as a theory is very important for humanity at this time, because it seems to be an absence of it. It's pretty widespread. Right? There's less appealing to original and native peace already, too much so. Come in.
What were the feelings during the gig? What were your perceptions of the music and of the space?
Well, I had a job to do. I mean, I'm there, it's not like I'm enjoying, you know, like going there for the music. I'm a healer first. So that's my job first. See what I need to do to bring in something. Because we did have, you know, we do have tunes we play on occasion. When we have different players, we play a lot of tunes and we go different places. This time I brought in a student of mine she's not here now. She's on her way back to where she lives. But she was very troubled, a very troubled person. But tonight she was very, very happy, because I accepted her into a circle of music and peeps. Yeah, 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 yeah. That really had a healing influence upon her heart.
Sit on the amp if it's okay.
Yeah, of course. Whatever you can sit on. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
Let's see. Actually. Yeah. And so my first job is make sure I feel healed enough to play the music to begin with. See if I can play something that is really true to the healing feeling that I feel I need. See? And see how that goes over, because a lot of the music tonight, even though we had the themes, was created on the spot in terms of the feeling there. So if you enjoy the music, then you enjoyed what I was feeling. There's a feeling of completion, a feeling of harmonic resonance, feeling a certain kind of safe okayness. Yeah, that's unqualified and maybe unconditional, and part of the mechanics of the soul. See, and out of which we have unqualified friendship in this case. And this is important, and to play music from that place is a big deal. Right. Yeah. To take a message like that, I think that's what many of the great musicians are probably, and entertainers are trying to do. In terms of their own audience, their own people, right? To try to universalize the goodness of the music as a healing force to bring people together, right? So words are very important. Words play an important part, but feelings play a very, very important part, because from the feelings, if you have the right feelings, you can play the right notes. If we play the right notes, that even the babies and other beings here, right? They feel it, because you're transmitting it, you're putting it out there. So it comes back to you. Comment? And so if you notice in my playing, it's out and in now. See, it's out and in. From the inside out. See, and then coming back in. See, and then musically demonstrating the majesty of creativity as both extremes at once. Both extremes at once. The conscious and the superconscious, the harmonic and then the inharmonic, all together at once, man. So then it has a cosmic flavor. And the only thing that stands in the way is self-limitation, and otherwise it's just, light to light, heart to heart, truth to truth. See? Comment? Yeah? You dig it?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, good, see? I don't even need to say anything, you already know it. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to thank everybody for coming here, but coming to the date and making it that much sweeter for the people who are like new to this. It was very difficult to change the tone a little bit. Very difficult coming into the area, because I'm living in more of a country setting, and the air is fresher in a sense. But coming into the city, after not being in a city like this for so long, it was very difficult. The energy is very harsh and very toxic. The fumes just tighten my body up, my limbs, and pain in the neck. And so I had to process that. So, okay, I know what it is. And I have to breathe it out, relax, really command my body to not react, because it's where we had to be. So I would have been a complete mess going into that place if I had settled myself in a way. It was tough, but we made it, and the music was healing. The people were kind and receptive.
When you say healing, what do you mean?
What do you think?
Well,
What could healing be to you? Maybe we all have different feelings about healing, but what could healing be to you? You were healed tonight.
Yeah, what does that mean?
And just for no reason.
Like, what are we being healed from? Why do we need healing? What is healing? What's up with the concept of the word?
Well, you can act
Why
ignorant.
do we
You
need
can
it?
act ignorant if you want, all your days.
Yeah.
And what do you gain from it?
But
You
we
don't
asked
have. You
the
don't
question
have to.
about the
You,
word.
you don't have to act ignorant. You just need to be here now. Just hear and feel. See, that's it. The healing is not a thought. It's not an analysis. It's not intellectual at all.
Mhm.
And the healing, the plants feel it. The children feel it. What are you going to tell them? You're going to ask the child, "Why are you here? Why are you feeling so good right now?" It's meaningless. It doesn't work. See, it's useless, in fact. So you need to know what it is, what your gesture is, it's futile already. And, you know, unless your curiosity is sincere, you know, you want to be with the flow of what's going on. You know. Everyone came there because they wanted to hear music, but secretly they wanted healing. If I went to each person there and said, what do you need most? Some GAs? Well, that's... Of course we all need some GAs. But that's not the real. See, what we're saying we come for superficially is the music, but what we really want is peace. We want the healing. You want to feel complete with yourself. You want to feel okay. See? Everyone, each and every one. Your heart beings. Each one is a heart being. See? And I experienced that probably no greater than when I watched the buildings and the trade towers come down when I was there. I'm watching that. It just unified everybody. Right? It said stop, look, listen, and, you know, wonder why this is happening. Who's hurting so bad in the world that this has to show up in their face? Right. The people in the Middle East were hurting because there's no resolution there. There's just too much conflict there, the strife. So we had that manifestation there. America, please listen to what's going on. Help everybody out, not just one party. Help all the parties out. These are all humans. These are children here. These are parents here. These are good spirits here. Forget about the politics. Politics is a curse upon the intelligence of the soul. Bias, right? Very, very fatal bias. So we need to go beyond that. You can't be entrapped by your idea of intelligence. Oh, I know. We may not know. You see the suffering, then you really know. That's what it is. So I think it's important for people to open to the possibility of spiritual practice to awaken some heart resonance and see how important and beautiful it is for some people to have that, right? Friends, right? Companions in spirit. Yeah. I don't know why. Because the truth is you're loved all the same, regardless of your nature and what you think is your nature. You're loved not because you speak or you think, because you're here. We're happy you're here. Everyone. And we love you, don't worry about it, man. We can't help but love you. That's the nature of the heart to love. See? Yeah. Any other comments? About the music?
Music is nothing but love and freedom, liberation, soul, freedom, heart.
Yeah, I'd like to add a dynamic to that too.
What's that?
I'd like to add a dynamic to what you're saying. The music's also about journey, the journey. Right, it's been a long journey.
Right.
From childhood to maturity, and let's say from adolescent, sort of instinctual sort of crazies, to mastery of the emotions, the mind, and the body to a certain degree. Peace. Peace. Abiding in peace. You know, being open to the higher, let's call it higher, or wisdom vibrations that permeate the universe. Right. Call them wisdom teachings. Each one of us is a very important part of that because the wisdom teachings are in you. They're not in just anybody. Right? Because we're all here to master this experience, not to be enslaved by it. If you look at it properly, you see what people suffer is their lack of understanding how to cope with conditions. Shane, you have a comment? Okay. Good to see you again.
See you.
Come
Gifted drum.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, we're all good drummers, right? Yeah. Right. We're all good heart beaters. Say, pum pum, pum pum, pum pum. Right? Somebody's beating us. Right? We say it's the heart, but somebody's beating the heart.
Yes.
That's somebody,
Access it.
something. Right? Right.
I felt the journey.
The journey. It's like saying you feel the going, right? You feel the going, right? Or are you feeling the gone already?
Bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Right.
the sweetness of the journey, and the process of learning.
The process of
Of learning.
learning, yes, yeah, opening, yeah, receiving, yeah, seeing and perceiving, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, touching, yes, it's all the learning process. Knowing again and again and again until it disappears. Yeah. And you have your peace, which has never left you, and we can ignore it or we can embrace it. Right? Peace. Yeah. Chantal, how are you?
Oh, well, thank you.
Good. Yeah. Uttara, how are you?
Happy to be here.
Yaka, can you handle this? The bass player. Yeah.
When the Uber brought, or Lyft brought me, he
Yeah.
brought me to the wrong door, so.
Yeah, but you're here.
Well, thanks to Angela.
Yeah. Angela? The angel,
She
you
was
mean?
diligent on our bicycle.
You mean?
You followed along.
Basically.
Wow.
I got you.
Without her, I'd have been on my way to the bus station.
Yeah, she's a guardian too.
Yeah.
She's one of the guardians.
That's what she said.
Yeah, she's a guardian. Yeah. Appreciate it. Yeah. You have any other comments or questions? Okay.
I mean, yeah, I think what stood out for me was just how the communication flowed and the level of listening and awareness, like among everybody, especially with a large group, but like all just kind of came together and
Yeah.
formed one thing that moved.
I think the word, which is always so symbolic, heart, say it's not just concept.
Yeah.
It's a presence. It's a presence. Right? And, again, 9/11, not to dwell on that, just made all difference disappear to a high degree. And of course, there was a lot of anger about, who did it, and so on and so forth. It's typical, understandable. But the common heart presence on the ground between beings was profound, right? Profound. In that circumstance, you see what the heart was made to do. So to go beyond differences, strike beyond differences, see, and embrace the reality of people in need. Right? Crazy.
shared
And-
adversity is one way of bringing that up.
Yes.
Maybe there are other
Yes.
more.
Well, we see the extreme end of it in that case. And the proof of it there. The differences. People were loving each other. Caring for each other. Crying for each other. This is important. This is how the heart speaks. This is the heart speaking loud, reaching out and reaching for help at the same time. So tragedy is a very good medicine. We are sorry it happens, but I mean, it's good that comes of it. You learn, especially for the people who are emergency people, first responders.
So is the heart, is that then how you could communicate so well? In the music is the same, I don't
Yeah,
know,
it's really,
property of
well, we can call it. I mean, now that we're asking those kinds of questions, sincerely, right? Yeah, it is about the heart. Right? Some of the best musicians out there reach you because their hearts are open, and you get it. Stevie Wonder, big-hearted person. The numbers and the names are numerous. John Lennon, right? All of these great artists are working from that. They have their audiences. They have those people following them, and paying attention to them and buying their products. When they're reached to that level, could be by the music, could be by lyrics, part of the same. Some people who don't feel the music, they can hear the lyrics and be transported to a similar place. They can know what it's about. Sometimes you have the lyrics being exactly the music. There's no difference. And then other times the music and the lyrics are far apart. So those people whose lyrics reach us the most profoundly, we feel the connection with them. We understand them. We resonate with them. We kind of know them. Right. We don't know their darker side, but we know what is good to know about them. We know what they can do to redeem themselves. And the name that comes to me is Charlie Parker. Right. Wasn't really a bad person. Right. He was a great musician, but he's trouble. And he had to do what he had to do. And he even said it. Don't do what I do. I have to do this. My body's in such bad shape. I have to do whatever I have to do. So he could play. His whole purpose was to play. So I mean, we can fault him for that, but why? The art speaks for itself. It was his debt, his humiliation. That's true of most artists that I've met and I've worked with to heal them. And of course, it's good that I play because then I give you an example of something that could be done, and a tone for something that could be, I guess you might say, used to, let's say, be closer to something within oneself. So it's tone of majesty, the tone of dignity, the tone of peace, right? Brotherhood, the tone of friendship, the tone of kindness and compassion, these tones. That it's okay to be vulnerable to people up to a point. It's better to be wise and know who to be around. And who to cross paths with. This comes with quieting the mind and knowing better. Yes, Chantal.
I'm relatively new to listening to jazz.
Yes.
I think it's really striking how you started each piece with the little melody.
Yes.
And I happen to know that at least one of them is your own composition.
All of them are.
So I'm just wondering, is there something, does that reflect something about your relationship to melody, or the
We
role
are
of
melody.
in your
This is your melody. This is your melody. You're speaking your melody. We are melody.
That there's a sort of, if I could make a distinction, there's kind of a song, and then
Yes.
there's
But
this
it's
other
all
kind of
it's all voice.
existence.
Voice is melody. conventionally, yeah, there's a kind of melody we prefer. And so we have the genres that represent the various schools of thought, right? And the various levels of experience for people to resonate with, right? Each genre is a level of culture, a reality. Mhm. And jazz is the same. Say, I was singing when I was a child. I was drumming at a very, very early age. And singing. And I found comfort in that. Right? Happiness and peace in it. I felt salvation in it. When I was brought up and raised in a saloon-like environment with drinking and violence and hatred and anger and fighting and loving all at the same time. This crazy mix. This beautiful sort of chaos of gypsy madness. I was raised in. I was born into it and raised in it. But the voice was there. For me, it's all about the melody. And so what happens is I tuck the melodies, like Rakalam knows, he's an analyst as well. And he used to say, for avant-garde player, my playing was full of melodies.
Absolutely.
Singing melodies, singable melodies. That's his opinion, of course, that's his experience.
You know, now that everybody knows that you were mine, he was in a doo-wop group when he was a teenager.
Oh,
And
oh.
called the
Do it,
Arrogance.
the
And all-
arrogance, totally.
And they all had the Puerto Rican curl and everything. I saw pictures.
The Puerto Rican Elvis birthday, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Hardly.
You guys was cute as a bum.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah.
I bet you were singing great too. I bet
No,
you
I won't go that far, but what happened was at that point when I was a teenager, like I was 12 years old, right? And you know, I was so regular guys, right? And I heard guys singing, and we bonded in a certain way. And so we became friends. But I was also playing drums and a little bit of ukulele, and so I was musically known in a certain way, as a beginner in many ways. However, there was a group called the Arrogance, and their baritone singer, Ricky Sato, a Japanese fellow, fell out of the band because his parents needed him to do the Madame Butterfly show on Broadway.
Oh.
So he was part of that.
See.
So they were going around asking people to sing, say who can sing, who wants to audition for the band or the singing group, and I was one of the people. And I think I brought the band down. I brought their singing group down, but they took me to Hollywood with them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we went on a tour of Hollywood, and we had the fortune of meeting and being around the Beach Boys, who were just unknown. They were just beginners then.
Wow.
And so we would do our act, they'd do their act, and so it was the Beach Boys and the Arrogance, and it was crazy, And the difference is the Arrogance studied jazz. So the guys in the band, Augie and Sally, both which come from musical families, went to the high-lows.
High-lows, I remember the high-lows. They were very musical.
Very.
They had hippest harmonies.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where these guys are coming from. But we were doing doo-wop because that's what was in is doo-wop. But the musical level was more abstract than that. But getting back to Chantal, it's all melody and it's all voice. Okay, and you hear people who speak, and you hear more music in their voice if you listen. Like sometimes when you have a mom, has a sing-song voice to you when you're nice, and a different song for you when you're not. Right? You hear it. You hear the differences in tone, or timbre, if you want, and quality, edge, right? Sweetness, emotion. And that's it. That's these are the mechanics or the dynamics that we could say are built, right? Melodies are built from, or they build melodies. So if you're always singing, which I recommend you do if you can do it, and not so much by musical, let's say, standard, but by your emotional standard, right? What you feel. Crying is also singing. I've heard a lot of crying. I would put to music. You're not against the crying, but they're just beautiful crying, right? and sorrow, the longing, sorrow. It's just beautiful music, and so we have psalms that are part of this tradition of putting sadness to to music, blues as well. All of it is music. And I wrote in this book that I have out called The Diamond Bible of Heart Fire Sound, and I say all music is just sorrow. Even the happy ones, happy tunes, it's just another form of sorrow. Even the happy tunes are expressions of suffering. And that people are suffering, so they sing and play happy music in order to eliminate the suffering, which doesn't disappear. See? We suffer lessons in life that are not complete. So we suffer incompletion.
Would you say there's a kind of movement from one kind of song to another? And
Yes.
maybe a kind of natural.
Just like your moods change. Right? Your voice changes. Right? The quality of your tone changes. Your curiosity has a different tone. You're asking questions are different. Your certainty has a certain tone. Right? You're convinced, ness. Right? When you're convinced, dead sure. Right? There's a tone to that too. Right? And then there's no tone. See? Then we're just light. So we need to be that too. And sing for, of, from, and by light itself. If you can imagine that for a moment, it's light.
Wow.
Is light. It's called the is light. Right? The is light. Yes, come in. Yeah. Yeah, it is light. Because we are light. It is light. This is all light. People would call it heart light, the light of the heart, where what we see is itself. It sees itself through us. See, it's just kind of a strange, but perfect kind of like, what is it, self-awareness. So there's plenty to sing about if you ask me. It's all song.
Jazz would you say it's the sort of song of the city?
Metropolitan life? It's really the song of mind, not just the city. See, it's really song of mind, like classical music. It's really song of mind. It's also the heart, but it's also mind. See, intelligence, like concrete intelligence even. See, construction, architecture, right? Right, architecture. See, music is architecture. Notes, lines, patterns, composition. So we need to be with ourselves where we are the composition. You are composed. And to sing or not to sing is really a matter of opportunity in terms of what your emotional need is. Because when it's time to scream, you can scream. But that could be considered music or something horrible and frightening and violent to the next person. But when the mother giving birth to the child is screaming, I mean, nobody's concerned. We're just happy about she's delivering the child, the being that's trying to come out into our midst. It's music, again, it's relative, so come in. Done? Okay, thank you all, really appreciate that.